we have language mixer session, and today we have English one. And today we're grateful to have Carina, who is a Master of Education at Harvard Graduate School of Education in the Learning and Teaching program.
And before Carina, we give you the floor. I did want to make sure for the record, I know, well, this meeting is being recorded now, that Carina is actually a sort of a winner of an award, if I can translate it. She's the leader of her cohort, and she has the honor of being the student speaker, which is a big honor also, at the Harvard Graduate School of Education at the graduate commencement ceremony. So I wanted to personally congratulate Carina, and for you to all acknowledge that and use this opportunity because she's graduating next week. And congratulations on the graduation and being such an exemplary and inspiration person. So you guys are going to be super, super lucky tonight to talk to her and hear some of her fun stories about the United States. So the floor is yours, Carina. Welcome. And once again, thank you so, so much for being here with us today with a direct connection to Kazakhstan.
Yeah, of course. Thank you all so much for having me and the warm welcome and introduction. I'm a little shy, but very grateful. So I am going to share my screen. Sometimes I lose your names when I share the screen, so just bear with me, I would say. So today we are going to talk about I'm in the US. I'm currently located in Boston, and Boston is on the East Coast of the United States in the state of Massachusetts. But my home is in San Francisco, California, which is on the other coast, the West Coast of the US. So I know that you all don't really need as much of like English instruction, but I hope to have some fun little tidbits in here, as well as lots of cultural things about differences between life on the East and the West Coast. So sorry, here we go. Yes, that's me. I'm excited. Here we are. So I would love to meet you all and hear a little bit more about what you're up to. So if you could share your name, maybe your location, if you have a comfort level with English that I should know about. I talk kind of fast, so you can use the little slow down or just put in the chat or whatever. And then a favorite tea or what you're I know it's later there, it's morning here. I don't think it's morning there. So I'm going to stop my share so we can see each other. I can put it in the chat what I was thinking. So just name, location, any English things I should know, and tea or beverage. Does someone want to go first? And then you can, in the US, we call it like popcorn, where you just call on the next person and then they go.
I can start. My name is Aliyah. I'm based in Almaty. My favorite tea is, I don't know, gosh, oolong. and English is, I'm still struggling. It's a permanent student, eternal student, and to beautify it and improve it. So I'll popcorn it to Dorian.
Dorian.
Okay, I'll popcorn it to you, Aitwar.
Okay. So my name is Aitwar. I also currently live in Almaty, Kazakhstan. English is also always in the process of improving. About tea, I think, I mean, I even can compare I guess, the Kazakhstan tea maybe to British tea or maybe American tea. We have one of the brands like Ahmad. I think it's fine. So yeah, usually black tea for me is the best, and I prefer tea rather than coffee. So, and please, let's go to Gohar.
Hi everyone again. My name is Gohar. I live in Kazakhstan's capital, which is Nur Sultan, but I'm originally from Almaty. And this is my son, who is a year and a half. We are staying home with coronavirus. My favorite go-to drink would be double espresso. So I'm more of a coffee drinker, and I feel comfortable speaking English, but I think my English used to be much better about 10 years ago. But yeah, I'm fine. I'm pretty comfortable speaking English. Yeah. Thank you. Do you want to say something? Okay. So we are going to popcorn it to Nilay.
Hello everyone, this is Nilay. I live in Almaty, Kazakhstan, but I'm originally from Istanbul, Turkey. I live in here for 3 years. I'm learning Russian language, so sometimes it could be tough for me to speak English and Russian. So let's go, what will happen? And I will popcorn, right? Popcorn it to Aida. Aida, are you there? Dinara.
Hello everyone.
Aida. Hi, Aida. So good to see you. Are you with us?
Sorry, I forgot to mention about my favorite.
Hello everyone.
Hello.
So, so what about we are talking?
Just your name,
Just
where you are, and anything I should know about English, and if you like tea, if a favorite tea.
My name is Sayita. I'm in Almaty. Currently, I am sitting at home with my child, my daughter, and
yeah, that's plenty. Thank you.
so
Yeah. All right, and then do we have one more person who popped on and then popped off? Or are we good?
Yeah, let's go to Dinara. Dinara.
Yeah.
Hello everyone. So my name is Dinara, and what else? I live in Almaty. Actually, near to Almaty, I live in a village. So about my English level, I'm in the process of learning. I guess now it's between intermediate maybe and pre-intermediate. And about tea, as a typical Kazakh, I love the black tea with milk. And that's all.
Yeah. Great. All right. And we have one more.
Martina.
Or did, yeah.
Hello everyone, my name is Martina. I am living in Almaty, Kazakhstan. My English level pre-intermediate and intermediate, but I have very lazy speaking English, but I am training, improving my English, and my like tea, it's rose chip.
Wow, that looks good.
Yes, rose chip. So
beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
So we've had Dorian who couldn't answer before. If he can, maybe he could. Dorian.
Yeah. Hi everyone. I'm Dorian. Yeah, sorry for couldn't answer earlier. So I'm now in Almaty, as many of us. So about the English level, I guess I understand more than I could speak. I wish it was otherwise, but yeah, it's always like when you're learning some language, you know, you understand more than you can express yourself. And as for the tea, I guess it's, I don't know how it will be in English, but ablipija. Can somebody help me with it?
I think
Sea salt?
buckthorn.
Buckthorn, yeah.
Ooh, wow. That is a vocab word if ever I heard one. Wow. All right. That's so
Thank you,
cool.
Gohar. Yeah. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. And then I think Lena, if she wants to go, or if you're just joining, you can hang out.
Yeah. Lena, hello. Can you hear us? Then maybe she will be more.
Okay.
I guess. We have also Janelle, a new
Awesome. Look at everyone coming in.
Hello.
Hi. Do you want to introduce? We just are finishing introductions. Do you want to say where you are, how it's going?
Hi. My name is Janelle. I live in Almaty. Oh, thank you, Aitor. Comfort level T? What is a comfort level T?
Like English, there are different categories. So like English, how comfortable are you speaking English? And then do you have a favorite tea or drink?
I'm pretty comfortable, I think, and talk about anything. And tea. I love matcha, but I think I overdrink matcha today, so the aftertaste, I'm not sure if it's my favorite drink right now, but I like aloe vera drink, if you've heard of it.
Oh, yeah.
Thank
Very
you.
cool. Well, it's good to see everyone and have your voices in the room. I'm going to get started talking about East Coast, West Coast of the United States and what that's like. So here we go. Let me get my little chat window going. Okay, so vocab. You all seem to be really good at English, and that's cool, but I'm going to put some definitions throughout just so you know. When I talk about the coasts of the United States, here's the United States. Here's the West Coast. This is California. San Francisco is kind of right here, if you can see my mouse with that little bay and peninsula. And this is the East Coast of the United States. And Massachusetts with Boston is here. New York is here. These states are shaded. You may know that Canada is up there, but there are big lakes right here. So they're still coastal. Oh, my mouse is going crazy. Give me one moment. All right, we're gonna just use the computer mouse. All right. Let's go back over here. All right, perfect. We are calm, we are controlled. I've been in grad school so long, it's like I don't teach anymore, but coast, perfect. So San Francisco is famous for the Golden Gate Bridge, being on the water, things like that. And then this picture here from Boston, Massachusetts is the public library, which is a very beautiful building in Copley Square. So when we talk about the directions and how to kind of navigate, they're called the Cardinal Directions. Cardinal is a word that has a lot of different uses in the US, or in English, I guess. It could be a red bird is a cardinal. So the color is sometimes conflated, but they're just called the Cardinal Directions. And this little graphic is referred to as a compass rose, like the flower, but that's what you call the Northeast, Southwest. When I'm teaching kids and we're learning about the compass rose, we try to get them to remember the order by saying you never eat soggy waffles. So soggy is like if your bread or whatever is too full of liquid and it gets kind of mushy and you don't want to eat it. And a waffle is the breakfast food. So when you're talking about these ones, the like little in between directions, you always put the north or the south first. So it would be like northwest, southeast, and there are lots of universities that are called like Northwestern or Northeastern. Okay, so the US is a huge place, and there are 3,000 miles, and I even put kilometers on here for you all between them, which is about a 6-hour flight. I have done this flight probably more times than I can count because my family is all in California, and my kind of adult home is in Boston since college. You'll see on the bottom that it says San Francisco CA to Boston MA. Those are the postal codes. So if you're addressing an envelope, you would use the CA or the MA to show what state it's going to. And yeah, these are some notable cities on the coast. But what we're going to be spending most of our time doing is a little battle of the coast. So I have a bunch of slides, not too many, but a bunch of slides, and they're going to have a picture and kind of a little topic. And you're going to tell me using your little reaction buttons. We're going to say yes is West Coast and no is East Coast. Okay, so if you go to reactions, can we practice pressing a button, yes or no? How's it going? If you go to reactions, yes or no? Can you put one up? Oh, I see a yes. I see some thumbs. All right. So that green check mark that says yes is going to be if you think it's on the West Coast, and the red X will be no, it's on the East Coast. So let's take a look at some various things and we'll see where they are. Okay. It's delayed on one thing. There we go. So history, a gold rush. Do we think, yes, this is the West Coast had a history with a gold rush, or no, East Coast? A few no's. Scrolling through, I see a yes, we're not sure. All right. So the gold rush happened on the West Coast in California. It brought 300,000 people to California. Remember, US history is messy and uncomfortable because there were a lot of people who already lived in California and were displaced and killed, and bad things happened to the native populations. But there was this big gold rush. And if you hear American football teams, the San Francisco team is called the 49ers. The 49ers is short for 1849, which was the biggest year that people came to go for gold in California. And when you're a kid growing up in California, they take you on like a little field trip. So I remember being like 10 or 11 years old and going and standing in a river and trying to like sift. So sift is like when you have a screen and you're trying to get all the rocks out so you can get a little flake of gold to put home. So that's West Coast gold rush. All right. Which is home to tons of universities? There's a clue on this slide, but tons of universities. Is that East Coast or West Coast? Yes, it's West. No, it's East. Show me your reactions. Oh, I'm seeing mixes again. Oh, I love it. I was worried these would be okay. If you said no, it's the East Coast, you are correct. So all of these universities, this is just a snapshot of Boston. This isn't even New York too. So these are all on the East Coast. Tons of universities. There's a joke, you can't throw a rock without hitting a university here in Boston. So I'm going to point out some of the notable ones. So Boston University right along here is where I did my undergrad. MIT is very famous for computer science and things like that. Harvard is where I currently am, technically at school. I live over here though. Yeah, and then there are all these itty bitty tiny colleges too. So lots of universities and higher ed in Boston. Okay. So now, history, American Revolution. Yes, the American Revolution was most importantly happening in the West, or no, it happened in the East. Which coast do we think? American Revolution, yes for West Coast, no for East Coast. All right, I see a no. I see a lot of undecideds. Yes, maybe. All right. So the major players in US history were no on the East Coast. When you think about people coming over from England, they sailed over to the eastern side of the US, and that's where the people were concentrated before they revolted and had the revolution. This is a statue and a church on the slide. The statue is of Paul Revere, who's a famous US patriot. And the church behind him is another kind of like nursery rhyme, a thing that kids know about. That's called One If By Land, the number one if by land, two if by sea. And what that means is that in order to alert all the other like revolutionaries that the British were coming to attack, invade, whatever, Paul Revere was going to put one lantern, so like a light, in that church if the British were coming over the land, like marching across, and two lanterns in the church if they were sailing across by sea. So that's kind of a fun fact. There's a long poem that kids study in school about this. All right. Which do we think is home to wine country? Yes, West. No, East Coast is where the wine is. Let's see some reactions. That's a vineyard there. Yes, yes. Oh, we're good at the wine question. I see how it is. All right. Yes, you are all correct. Wine country is on the West Coast of the US in Napa and Sonoma. Beautiful, beautiful place. You should definitely visit if you get the chance. You can learn about wine and all of that. They have their whole own vocabulary happening in Wineland. I will tell you that. Okay. So this is a type of dessert called Ghirardelli chocolate. So Ghirardelli chocolate, is that home in, yes, the West Coast, or no, the East Coast? Where do you think, if you want some Ghirardelli chocolate? You can get it at a pharmacy, but where is it really from? Yes for West Coast, no for East Coast. Okay, a little bit of conflict, we're not sure. So Ghirardelli chocolate is in the West Coast, in San Francisco. So it's a big kind of chocolate factory. They are known for little squares of chocolate that have inside fillings like caramel or raspberry or mint. But they have ice cream sundaes. It's a whole plaza that's right near a beach in California. So that's very fun. And then for folks who are still kind of newer to English, fun fact, this word dessert, kids, when we are teaching them how to spell, we say dessert has two S's because you want more dessert. That's sweet. We like that. And when you're spelling desert, like where the cactus is, where it's really dry, it's only one S. You don't want more desert, but you do want more dessert. So that's Ghirardelli Square for you. All right, let's take another one. The weather is foggy. Where is all the fog? In the West Coast or the East Coast? Yes, I love the Ghirardelli rep. Sounds good. I see a no. We're thinking it's on the East with all those rocks, but I see someone that has yes. If you put yes, you are correct. So the West Coast in California, the Golden Gate Bridge, when I take my friends and they come to visit me in California, we bike across the Golden Gate Bridge, and sometimes you can't even see it because it's so foggy. You can't see this giant bridge. Boston and the East Coast is much colder. There's more snow and actual seasons like fall and spring, whereas California is more sunny most of the time. You'll also see walking around near the foggy Golden Gate Bridge a lot of tourists wearing sweatshirts that say San Francisco. And the reason that is because when they booked the trip to California, they thought it would be warm. Then they came into the fog and had to buy a sweatshirt at the first place they could see. So they have these big San Francisco sweatshirts. So that's kind of a fun fact. Okay, we've got a few more. All right, here's another dessert, a cannoli. If any of you have been to Italy, you might have seen a dessert like this. Which city, which coast would be known for a cannoli? I see an East Coast, no for East. I'm gonna give a little wait. Some people are thinking, no. All right, we're good at wine and we're good at cannolis. Yes, the cannolis are more popular on the East Coast of the United States. These ones are, a cannoli is like a filled pastry. This is a chocolate one, which is a little atypical, but my favorite. So the vibe, the kind of the feeling is pretty similar. In San Francisco, the Italian neighborhood is called North Beach. In Boston, it's called North End. I don't know why Italians like the North, or if that's just how it worked out. In Boston, there's a very famous cannoli store called Mike's Pastry. And there's a rival cannoli store. So they're like competing, called Modern Pastry. And what people like to do when their friends come to visit is buy a bunch of cannolis from each and then decide which one is the best cannoli. All right, let's take a look. Who do we have here? A duck boat. So you may not have ever seen one of these. Which town, which coast is famous for a duck boat? So this is a boat that can drive around and also go in the water. All right, I see some people are thinking maybe California with all those beaches. But if you put no, you are correct. The East Coast is actually where the duck boats are more popular. Boston has a really big river, and people love to do this as like a fun activity. Tourists, I would say, love to do this. If you live here, you're probably not on a duck boat. Okay, how about this one? Tourism, a crooked street. Yes, that crooked street is in the West Coast, or no, it's in the East Coast. What do we think? I see some mixed reactions. A crooked street, so you can see it kind of swivels around like this with the pretty gardens, and it's because it's very steep. All right, I still see some mixes. If you put yes, West Coast, you're correct. So the West Coast is San Francisco is basically on all these giant hills. So if you were to drive straight down, it's a little alarming. So they have this very curvy street called Lombard Street that has in San Francisco. It's actually not the most crooked street in San Francisco, but it's the most famous crooked street in San Francisco. One more thing about San Francisco's steepness, so the slope again of the streets. Sometimes the streets are so steep that you have to park like the wrong direction. So normally if you're parking, you park kind of like along the street, right? In San Francisco, if you're on such a steep hill, you have to park like horizontally. So yeah, it's very odd, but it's good because it means your car won't roll down the hill. Okay, you have survived our East Coast versus West Coast round. Congratulations. You now know some things. I have a little bit of slang for you. One is, it's not like a real swear word, but it's a little bit, so just warning you. So on the West Coast, when people want to use the adverb very, so like, oh, someone's very smart, sometimes they'll say hella, kind of like the swear word hell, but making it an adverb that means very. So West Coast, oh yeah, I went to the beach, the waves were hella great, like da da da. On the East Coast, no one would say that. On the East Coast of the US, people would say wicked to mean very. And this is like very proper Boston type thing. Like, oh, that person is wicked smart. And you'll see like t-shirts of making fun of Boston accents where the is kind of accentuated, wicked smart. But so many people, probably a third of the Boston population is college students that kind of come from everywhere. So you may not hear a Boston accent unless you're riding the train. Okay, so I need some volunteers. I need some help. We have these 4 little sentences, and one is going to be hella and one is going to be wicked, but I need you by the context to know which is which. So you can drop it in the chat. You can come off mute because I am not great at names off mute. But that was a blank good cannoli from Mike's Pastry. Can someone fill in that blank, say that sentence for us? And just hop off mute. There aren't that many of us.
Okay, guys. So who wants to be a volunteer to answer the slang phrases?
And if we're feeling shy, it's okay. You can put it in the chat, but it's fun to practice saying it. Hella and wicked. It's morning here. It's fine. All right, we can stick to yes, no's. That was a blank good cannoli from Mike's Pastries. If you think that is hella, say yes, West Coast hella good cannoli. Or if you think no, that's an East Coast thing. That's a wicked good cannoli. Yeah, so that's a no. That is a wicked good cannoli on the East Coast from Mike's Pastry. All right, we've got another one. So I was going to go for a bike ride across the Golden Gate Bridge, but it's blank foggy today. All right, we've got a volunteer. I love it. Raise your hand. Yeah. What kind of foggy day is it? Read the sentence.
Hi. I will be just guessing. I wasn't from the beginning. I was going to go for a bike ride across Golden Gate Bridge, but it's hella foggy today.
Yes, you sound just like a San Franciscan. I love it. Very, very good. Okay. All right. Does someone want to do the next one about an ice cream sundae, which is the ice cream with lots of scoops and chocolate fudge? Who wants to read that one for us? Would it be East Coast slang or West Coast slang?
Can I?
Yeah, yeah.
This Ghirardelli ice cream sundae is hella good.
Yeah.
Will
Oh,
it
it's
be?
so fun to hear it. Yeah, hella good, because it's like an adverb, so it describes it can modify the adjective. Okay. Here's our last one. I just finished my Harvard exam and it was blank hard. What do we think?
I'm not really sure, but I think it's a week's heart.
Yeah, it's a wicked hard exam. Yep. Great job.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so now we've got a little bit of time. So I am going to come on you. I don't know why we're so temperamental today. Okay. Sometimes when we're evaluating things in English, we talk about the pros and the cons, the good things and the bad things. So does anyone want to come off mute or type in the chat and let us know, where would you want to be, East Coast or West Coast, and why? This is a good chance to get your voice practicing your English, or in the chat practicing your writing. Either way, what do you think? Where sounds fun?
Well, can I start?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, I would like to live under East Coast, because as you mentioned, there are a lot of how to say, I forgot, foreigners or students, I mean. So it would be good that you communicate with the students from a lot of countries. You'll improve your some communication skills maybe. And I think it's for me, it seems like more comfortable living there, and that's all.
Interesting. I'm interested in that comfort word. People on the East Coast, in my opinion, they dress a little better. Like, you can tell I'm from California because I have like a flannel and just flip-flops or whatever. East Coast people are, they polish a little more, but I'm from Northern California. In Southern California, it's a different story. Yeah, but that's an awesome answer. Thank you. Anybody else, pro or con? Would you live in the East Coast or the West Coast?
Can I?
Yeah.
I would live by any coast because I love sea. I want to swim every day. So I think East Coast may be a little bit more appropriate for that reason. But I'm not sure. I'm very bad at knowing the difference between East and West coasts. But I believe that people living in the West Coast, they also have this opportunity to enjoy swimming in the sea. And for me, this is the best thing in living by the coast. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Yes, the West Coast, though, depending on where in the West Coast, the water can be kind of cold, but in the East Coast, it's cold too. It's cold and rocky in the Atlantic. Yeah, very cool. Anybody else, East or West? Okay, I have a few more slides then. So Now we've got some conversation for the locals. So now that we know a little bit about the coasts and a little bit of the slang, we're going to get into some more conversation for locals. West Coast. So sometimes people who are visiting the West Coast will say, oh yeah, I'm going to San Fran. And it hurts me to hear them say that because when you live in the West Coast, nobody calls it San Fran. Sometimes people will say SF. Sometimes people will say the city, because California, like the Bay Area in California near San Francisco, has Silicon Valley and has where all the tech is and things like that. So when you go to the city, it's San Francisco in that region. There's a running joke even on Saturday Night Live, a TV show, about how Californians, because we drive everywhere, we talk about the highways. So like, oh, I'm taking the 101, which is a highway to SF. And then my friends who are not from California will say, oh, you're going home. Are you excited to go to Cali? And I'm like, I wouldn't call it that. Like, oh, I'm going home. I'm going to California. I'm going to SF. Those things make more sense to me. Cali sends an outsider vibe. So we've got some fill in the blanks. So let's see if we can talk like locals and use some from the right side rather than the left side. I am going to say a point on English. The articles are kind of challenging in this just because, but if you look at the examples, you may have a clue. That's my little word of caution. So before you drive, you want to know. So who can handle bullet point 1? What's the weather like in where? Yeah, go for it.
In San Fran? What's the weather like in San Fran?
No, because then they're gonna think you're a tourist, because these people, San Fran is something that the tourists say. We would say all the way San Francisco, or we would say, oh, SF, just the letters, or what's the letter? So I think SF would fit here. You'll notice that when we talk about it as the city, we usually have the, but that's a good try. That's awesome. Okay. All right. Just got back from where after a great day. How would we say that?
From the city.
Yes. Got back from the city, and it's a drive. Everything is kind of a drive. So you're coming and going. All right. And then we've already taken the 101 highway. Now it looks like we took the 280 highway. You felt like taking the scenic route home from
SF again?
SF, yeah. Took the scenic route home from SF, so took 280, the bigger highway. Awesome. Okay, now let's see if we can do an East Coast edition. All right, conversation for the locals. This one, I'm less in the know. I've only lived in Boston for maybe 6 years, going on 7, but this one gets me every time. So the subway and the buses and the whole transportation, the transit system is called the T in Boston, just like the letter, the T. So if someone's a tourist and they look kind of lost, they're like, where can I find the subway? And I say, oh, the T's that way. Sometimes they're confused. They're like, what do you mean the T? Like the T is somewhere? I'm like, yep, that's the T. It's very crowded today. Look out. So this one is a little easier, but I'm going to give you some fun facts about the words in the thing. So yeah, I got on the...
Sorry, Carina, where do you think this T comes from?
I think that's a great question. I think it comes from the longer name, which is the Massachusetts Bay Transit Agency, something like Transportation Authority, so the MBTA. And I think people are tired of saying MBTA, MBTA, MBTA.
I see.
But all like my little subway card, it has a T on it, and there's we have a little kind of like cartoon character named Charlie, and there's a poem about how he was late for the T. So the discount subway pass is called the Charlie card.
Oh.
Yeah. So, okay. So yeah, I got on the T at Copley and I'm headed your way. So Copley is where the library is. It's a big plaza. Okay. How about the 66 bus? But I still have to take the what to Davis Square? How do you get there? What do you take?
The T?
Yeah, you take the T. So the 66 bus goes from where I live across the river into Harvard, and then Davis is where Tufts University is. All right, and then the last one again, there was a delay on that pesky
On the T.
Yeah, the T, but I should be there in 15 minutes. Awesome. So I wanted to save lots of time for just any sort of questions. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can see each other. Any sort of questions, conversations, just so we can all practice English, and West Coast, East Coast, anything that you may want to know about American culture, I'm more than happy to answer. So that's our last little bit of time. Thanks, y'all.
I have a question when we are going to meet next time.
I will leave that to an organizer.
Okay, so I sometimes have questions because I teach English. Sometimes they come from my students. What is the difference between this or that thing? So sometimes I really need a native speaker. So in the US, do you use an expression "I've got" instead of "aha," which is like more common?
That's a good question. I think "I've got it" or "I get it" is a little more formal. I think people don't really say "aha" as much. I think that's more that to me sounds like an old man with like a beard and a monocle, like the single glasses, being like "aha." I will say that the state motto of California, because states have all these funny little things that they claim. The state motto of California is Eureka. I'm going to type that just because that's a funny one. Eureka, which means, I think it's Latin or Greek. It means I found it. And it's because of the gold rush. Yeah.
That's interesting. Because
but no one says Eureka.
In the books, they say that I've got, it's more British English, and I have it's more American English, but we have Americans here, and I heard them a lot of times saying I've got, he's got, she's got.
Yeah, and I think there's always something after too, like I've got it or I don't, like, yeah.
All right, right. And one more thing, like Black Americans, I don't know how to say it. So clarify that point, how to call them, how do you call them?
Yeah, that's a great question. And there's a lot of, it's changed a lot. So like when I was younger, it was like, oh, African Americans, but that is less common now. It's more Black Americans, Black people. What I will say is you don't just want to add an S. So I always have like people or individuals or whatever after it. Because if you just say, oh, there were Blacks on the bus, that's pretty derogatory and no one would say that. So just make sure you have something after it. I will say that there is an acronym that's very common in the US, or increasingly common, that looks like this. So if you're reading about social movements in the US currently, this is pronounced like BIPOC. BIPOC. Yeah. And that stands for some of the most marginalized populations in the United States. So I'm going to spell out who that is. So Black folks, Indigenous folks, and other people of color. So there's been a lot of questions about this term because there are many Latinx, like people from South America and stuff like that, Latino people in the US. But because these groups have faced such hardship in the US, it's kind of like I want to especially emphasize this. So like my partner has a nonprofit, and they say on their website, oh, we only buy books from BIPOC owned bookstores, and people know what that means.
Thank you. So those Black people, do they really have this accent? Yeah, like they say, get out of here instead of get out of here.
Yeah, it varies. It's been studied a lot. It used to be called African American Vernacular English, but I think it's called Black English now. It can be very stark. I used to tutor in a community with many Black residents, and I would get on the bus and sometimes I would have a little bit of trouble understanding what the Black teenagers in front of me on the bus were saying, just because there's so much slang and different things. Oh, I ain't got to do that or whatever.
Thank you. And last question. So is it common for normal average Americans to use R instead of T in some words, like get out of here? Is it more common nowadays?
R instead of T. Can you give me one more example of what you mean by that?
Yeah, in books we're told that get out of here, it is British English, and get out of here, it is American English.
Yeah, that I think checks out. That makes sense, because there's a lot of, even in me responding, I'm not saying because, I say because there's a lot of, slang in the US. So, I gotta go to the store, which you wouldn't write like that, but you would definitely talk like that, which is why there's that difference in written and spoken English.
It's gotta go, yeah?
Yeah, I gotta go, I've gotta go, we've got the contraction, and then the gotta, all sorts of things.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Because very, very simple words, they confuse from time to time. For example, the same okis and like nice. I heard that Americans don't use nice as well, or very.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, so I think we do. Words go in and out of fashion just the way they do in any other language or culture. So I especially with the kids, I have a teenager I mentor, and she said something was really cool, and she wanted to tell me it was really cool, and she told me it was God tier. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, what does that mean? And it was so funny because for that, it's like the top tier, the top level. Oh, it's the coolest thing ever. It's God tier. So even I am still learning all the different slang that is going around these days. But that's a really hip one.
Then, well, yeah, we have to learn again and again. God tier. That's interesting. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Any other questions? Cultural things. I will say that this was a coastal presentation, and I love both coasts, but I also know that there are lots of good things happening in the middle of the United States. Some people, like politically, there are things like, oh, the coastal elites, because there's a lot of money on the East and West Coast. And the politics are interesting there too, but some people who really, really, really like the coast and wouldn't go anywhere else, when they go between like Boston and San Francisco, they talk about, oh yeah, I went over the flyover states. Like there's nothing there, you fly over them. So that's a derogatory for the middle of the US.
And then final question from me, in that series, the Supernaturals, I watched a bit.
Yeah.
They show that all the states can be traveled through by car, right?
Yes. So you don't need, there's not like I went to New Hampshire, which is another tiny state in New England, or that region, Northeast, just this past weekend. And when we drove from Massachusetts to New Hampshire, there was just a sign like, welcome. There was no checking of anything or doing anything. I will say that the states all have very different rules. So some, not very different, but some different rules. So yeah, it was like for marriage equality, like if it's not the case anymore, but it used to be like if you have a partner of the same gender, you can get married in one state, but it's not recognized in another state, and school funding is very different. So yeah, it's a little chaotic.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Carina, Since today talked about West and East, so I suppose there's also some accents involved. Yeah, I mean, in East and West, I mean, like there could be some, I mean, slight difference, yeah, in speaking.
Yeah, there is. I think it was weird. Do you have Uber where you are, or like, do you know, like kind of like a taxi? So I was in a car in Boston, and someone asked me if I was British because my California accent, like I don't have a Boston accent. I certainly don't have a British accent, but it was an interesting question. So, but what I would say is that point about Boston being a place of like transients where people come in and out. It wasn't until I dated someone who was very local to Boston that I heard the like, yeah, like park the car and like that kind of thing. And then California, because media is so present there, like Hollywood is in Southern California, that California accent gets standardized a little bit more. It's like overrepresented, I would say. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Well, so guys, do you have more questions for Carina about anything about United States, about languages?
Carina, I've got one question for you. When people decide to go to college, do they normally decide to stay where they live or where they're from, or would they travel somewhere? Like how traditional it is? Because, for example, in Italy, it's not customary to go to another city to study. So you just study where you're from.
Yeah. So because the US education system is so state oriented, it's like inaccessible when it comes to how expensive higher education is in the US. Most people probably do go to a more local college, or at least one in their state. The tuition prices change. So like if I wanted to go to college or if my kid wanted to go to college in Vermont, they would have to pay an out-of-state rate if this Vermont school was a public school in Vermont. So like California has really good, the UCs like UC Berkeley, UCLA, those are good public colleges in California. But if I were coming from Boston to a UC, I would pay additional fees. I think my path of going from literally as far away as I possibly could, I would come to, when I came to Boston University, I was like, oh yeah, I'm from California. And they were like, wow, you must really hate your family. I was like, I don't hate my family. I just, the program was really specific that I wanted. So I went there. Yeah, but California also is such a populous state that there are Californians everywhere. Yeah, kind of like New Yorkers. You can always find one.
I think that's quite interesting, because I think in countries like ours, most people tend to go to big cities. So most people don't stay where they live.
Final questions about life in the US.
So we can actually, Carina, we have a tradition to make a quick group photo, because some people could leave early. So to sort of to remember this lesson, so let's make a group photo for today. So I will just click a button, make a screenshot. So if you want, you can turn on your video, and then we can make a group photo. Thank you. Great. And we still have time. So if you have some more questions to Carina, please do. Otherwise, I also just want to say big thanks for such a useful session. I mean, we didn't have before talking about East and West, the difference. So it was really cool. And also learning some slangs along the way was just awesome. So thank you very much, Carina. It was just awesome from start to finish.
Oh, thank you.
Then, well, if we don't have questions, then I guess it's pretty much it. But if you want, you can just stay around. I just want to make a quick announcement that next week we are going to have Turkish. So maybe if you are interested in Turkish, you can join us at the same time next week. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be interesting as well. And also, Carina, it will be nice to have you again when you're available. So it will be awesome.
Very cool.
Thank you so much, Carina.
Yeah, this is fun.
Amazing.
Thank
And-
you.
And congratulations on the graduation. We really look forward to talking to you whenever you have time. And hope everyone enjoyed it as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, but
So thank you and goodbye. Have a good wait, have a good week. Yeah.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thanks for the
Thank you.
question.
Bye.
Bye.